Hey, Matt, can you hear us okay?
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I was using the right microphone or not. Yesterday, I didn't have the right microphone on.
yeah, I can hear you.
Gotcha. Uh, Let me just get one thing done here. Looks like we're live. See who's all streaming in here.
Mr. Vowell.
How's things going with you?
Awesome. I mowed the grass today already.
Oh man, I gotta tell you, good for you. I walked outside this morning. It was already 80 up here. So
Oh, no. Golly.
3 nights ago, I had the fireplace on with the dog laying by it because it was 40 degrees out. And 2 days later, it was 95 degrees down here.
Yeah, Al Gore's right, man. It's global warming is here to stay.
I haven't heard that name forever, man. Al Gore.
I don't even know if he's still alive.
Let me just pop this up and get this open. All right, well, everybody, welcome to Lunch with Lumbermen with Matt Lehman, Lehman's Lumber Guide, and Ashley Buckle. Materials Exchange, the B2B exchange. So, Matt, I had a new one of your guys call from Wisconsin today. And he said, "Hey, I want to put a bid in on here because it really looks easy, and I watch your guys' show all the time." And so, before I got to the train, I was sitting at my kitchen table, showed him how to do it, and a seller put an offer up right away. So they're kind of going back and forth, but it was kind of cool, right? And
Yeah, cool.
my wife was listening in on the other thing, and she goes like, "Who was that?" I go, "It was a truss builder from Wisconsin," and she's like, "It really does sound pretty easy, right?" So it was kind of cool, I thought.
I just got a message that there's bad audio on YouTube.
Is that on my side or your side?
I don't know. It was
You sound okay to me, so we'll just keep chugging along and see what happens. Maybe it's on your side hearing me.
It was to me. So, Sean, if you can log off and go back on LinkedIn, it might be better.
There we go. There's 30 people on LinkedIn right now that are showing, so I've got all my other stuff.
We better make it good.
All my other stuff is muted. So I've got the PowerPoint that you sent over. We'll jump into that in a second, but let's first talk about kind of what you've been showing on your estimates, predictions going forward. This probably isn't real surprising you seeing the way this is trading. We kind of saw a little buy go in a few weeks ago, and now things seem to be. Somebody said sounds a little like it's bad coming from Matt, but echoey and choppy. Could just be YouTube though. And Joe said he's on YouTube and it sounds clear. So
Sean said he got it fixed too.
It could just be the It could just be the simulation messing with us. So, what's your thought over the last few weeks, the way we've seen things play out here in the global economy and our economy? And then let's bring it back to lumber a little bit from what you do and what it shouldn't be. I don't think it's a real surprise just from the lumber side the way you saw stuff, right?
I think to me, it's easy to see what's happening because everybody's telegraphing what they're going to do. I mean, just like if you remember back, we started 2 years ago when the builders telegraphed to the LBM yards that they're going to don't run out of lumber at any price. Shoot, that's easy. Market's going to go up because the builders are just going to be buying the pants off of it. And they did. And then everybody went crazy and bought it. And right now the Fed's saying, I want to choke you guys. I want to choke the consumer down so he doesn't spend anything. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it through interest rates and make things expensive for you. We're going to keep letting gas go up. So they're kind of, it's almost like there's a kind of a dichotomy between letting inflation run enough to get consumers to stop participating and then jacking rates up at all at the same time. And for lumber, I was telling my guys several weeks ago, look for this to be an early turn. I thought this week number 21 FTP would probably be a miss by a couple of weeks. and it looks like that's happening. That I don't know if it's going to be a miss, but it certainly is turning in a couple of weeks earlier than that, because I've seen softer prices everywhere. So it's doing exactly what we thought was going to happen.
I tried switching microphones here to see if this is any better. Did that help at all?
You sound good to me, but it might be. I turned my volume down. I turned my volume down some.
Okay, Jory said it's better, so let's go with that. Yeah, it's crazy. So 2 or 3 weeks ago, when I looked at all the interweb and everybody's like going, housing and lumber prices and everything's immune to any downturn. I'm like, boy, oh boy, this.
Yeah, that nailed it.
And I get it, right? Because one, as human beings, we all own a house. A lot of us own a house, right? So we don't ever want to see anything go against us. Thanks, Michael. Shepard said it sounded better. And I certainly don't. I know in my area, I'm finally back to the price I paid for my house in 2004, right? So I feel that's a victory. But let's go into lumber. So a lot of interesting stuff going on. So spruce, which is a shrinking market basket, when we look at how much pine has come on, is still, 1,100 something, I think, ask at the mills, and it's $100 below that in the futures or more. And then you look at Southern pine, my gosh, I mean, there is such a big disconnect, and there's such a discount. There's no way to hedge wood on the ground. So, I mean, it seems like pine kind of like lost its bite. Spruce is sitting there, but there's only three big mills that really control a lot of that. What's going on that side of things? You think?
Well, the prices are all over the place. I heard last week that one mill sold like $11.90 for 20 cars, $11.70, $11.90 for 20 cars on the ground, and told them 2 weeks or sooner to get the cars, and one person bought it. And then I heard that those big three, they were looking for offers at $1,000. And then another mill was at $1,000, and it's kind of all over the place, and it's almost like you got a customer base, and you go like, well, if I like this mill stock, and I'm going to buy his stock because it's cheaper all the time, so I just assume that what he says is legit, or I like this guy's stock because it's better than everybody else's, and whatever he says is legit. And I'm not saying people will be taken advantage of, but people are being taken advantage of.
Well, it's an interesting market. I was listening to one of the earnings the other day, and one of the mills said there's a lot of talk that the price can go to 600. We don't see that. I'm like, okay, well, we had a guy on the other day, and Russ was on the other day saying the cost of production is somewhere around 600-ish, right? Yeah. And it's always been, I don't know if it's going there, but 600
that means nothing.
No, it doesn't ever mean where something's going. I mean, because I've been through this game way too many times. When things overshoot, they overshoot to the upside, but when they overshoot to the downside, they do the same thing. And one thing,
how many years did Canada produce lumber at $150 and $200 less than their cost of production? I mean, that went on for the 90s and 2000s. That's not a deterrent.
And they have a lot of issues right now with shipping and all that, and in logging and their prices. And I get it, right? But that still will never. And I don't know where it's going, but that will never stop a market. Markets never take anything personally, right? They go to wherever they want to go to. It's not because they don't like you or do like you. It's just that's the way it is, right? So
yeah, speaking of the market, lumber prices are nothing but a reflection of what the people are doing.
Yes.
And right now the market is in the process of, or the buyers in the process of liquidating, which is normally what happens in May. And so there's nothing abnormal about that. People have got their positions for the spring in May. But the only difference is the preparation stage of this market in March and April was not as robust as it normally or has been recently. So we're liquidating from a smaller position. So the market's still going to go down. The only thing that's going to be different, I think, is we're going to reach an underbought condition sometime in the summer, normally we get that little 4th of July bounce for a week or two. That's probably going to happen. But right now, there's just, I mean, I can't find anybody on CNBC or MSNBC or Bloomberg. Everybody's convinced housing is done. It's over. And I disagree with that. It's not done. It's not over. It's just overpriced, and it's got to reprice itself because we're not overbuilt. We still got all these completions to get done. We still got product to come on the market, and the people that wanted to buy houses 6 weeks ago at 2.5 or 3% interest rate still want to buy a house at 3% interest rate.
Well, let's talk about that. I know there's some people on here from different areas of the country. Big retail yards that sell to pro builders, trust facilities, builders. Let us know what you're seeing. I talked to a guy in Texas the other day, and he said, "Hey, they're pretty good through July, but some of their builders have come to him and said they may slow down some things." Maybe what we talk about is we keep seeing that gap open up between homes under construction and permits, right? And we have a lot of units under construction right now. Maybe a good thing would be for that gap to close by getting somewhere where we can actually complete these 1.3, and maybe that's where permits go back to and starts, right?
Well, that's what we've been talking about this from the very beginning of the year. That my expectation was the number's going to be about 1.5 million, because we've done 1.4 million in completions before, and never really had to push to get. I guess we didn't have to really push hard to get there. It's just what we did. But when you've got 1.8 million starts, then there's 1.8 million completions somewhere along the line, and I think we're going to lose those starts. We're gonna have people bailing on contracts because they don't have any choice. If you can't qualify when your mortgage payment's $500 a month more because of the price of the house, the sales price that you get negotiated at the time you bought it, which is recently, and new interest rates, that's knocking out. I know. I think twice before spending another $500 on a house, especially the way the market is right now. So let them have it back.
Here, so George was saying our trust production has been on fire all year. That's just a figure of speech, I hope, George. Very short lull a few weeks ago, and now we're back up to 10 weeks out. April was very slow framing sales. Maybe has already surpassed April. April was very slow framing sales. May has already surpassed April for us. So in that case, things to keep. In that case, I'm not sure where George is at. Maybe you know where.
Alabama.
Okay.
George, Alabama.
Right on. Thanks, George. Good feedback there. Really good feedback. So, Matt, did you want to jump into your PowerPoint a little bit and look at that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is. It's just I wanted everybody to be able to see what I was going to say. Oh, George is in Richmond, not Alabama. Thanks, sorry about that, buddy.
Okay.
That's still Southern.
Yeah.
The point I wanted to make was that the Fed seems to be just hell bent on stopping spending, just slowing inflation and stopping consumer spending. And on that PowerPoint, I introduced a word this week called V-cession rather than recession, and that being meaning that I expect the market's going to go down sharply, and we're going to reach a point where prices adjust and inventories adjust and interest rates get all inflation under control. And the Fed already knows that there's a good economy out here with lower price without inflation and lower interest rates, and when things are affordable. So I wanted to start with saying that history repeats itself. This is the takeaway for today, that history repeats itself, but it's never identical. There's always some little something that's different about it. And this year, looking at the FDPs that you got up there, we can see that, and move my screen out of the way, that we're coming up at week number 21 at a point where the market should turn down. I published on the overnight briefing. I put in a couple lines, one at week number 19 and another one down around 4th of July week for a place where we can probably see we're going to get an early turn now and a bump then, but still the big trend is going to be down from now till the end of August. So the point being that sell-off, they keep it, and I want to remind everybody that don't get excited about the steepness of that slope of that downtrend, because that's time. And I think we're going to see the market get more into a less volatile period than we've been before. We're going to lose some of that volatility just because we don't have the panic buying and the panic selling and the hoarding and the misdistribution of product, as things are kind of leveling out a little bit.
Hey, Matt, just real quick, one thing that I've noticed, and we've been talking about it, we haven't seen the big rallies and the big sell-offs. Maybe we're starting to get into a more normalized, less volatile market, and that in itself takes care of some of these logistics and shipping issues and all that, because people don't, like you said, people aren't at the party at 2 a.m. and all want to exit a 2-foot door at the same time, right?
Yeah. I heard a guy yesterday say on one of the, I forgot, it's Bloomberg or CNBC somewhere, he said that there's been he said this way, only 16 times since 1940 have there been significant economic corrections. And I went, well, the number just didn't sound right. So I said 16 into 62 is every 3.8 years. That's pretty frequent to have a major significant downturn in the economy, that we don't get long runs. We've had these little mini recessions, but something happens along the way to keep things in balance. And so this is, I mean, to think that we're not going to have a recession or whatever, some kind of setback here, is just naive, because we're due for one. And I was noticing also, kind of Googled up what's the official definition of recession, and it's, some guy said several years ago, he identified it as being 2 consecutive quarters of declining GDP. And so that means that from a statistical point of view, that you've got to endure 6 months of suffering before somebody diagnoses and says, "Yep, shit's bad out there, isn't it?"
I thought the definition was when it seems bad, it's because your neighbor's having a problem. The definition of a recession is when you're having a problem.
Right. Yeah. So in this case, I think we're going to see something. Because 2 things: the home buyers that wanted to buy homes a month ago or 2 months ago still want to buy it. They've just been priced out of the market, or they're backed off because they think something's going to come in. And investors in the stock market are, I mean, you watch what the stock market's done. Everybody that lost money was going to want to make that money back, so they're going to reinvest. And what a heck of a time for somebody that's never been in the stock market before to be able to invest in it at 30% pullback. So I think the stock market's going to rally back, and things are going to get. I think it's just for those 2 reasons alone, we're going to have a V shape where it's just going to fall hard, and it's just going to whip right back up, and it's going to be one of those that you got to be ready to bottom pick it and get with the program, and I think that includes lumber. I think we're going to probably ratchet down, and I wouldn't be surprised. You said something about $600, and I think lumber's going under 500. Just because it can, and it did it last year when it fell off from that 1,700 number. And if we think it can't go down to below 500 from 1,000, we're delusional.
Yeah, if I remember right, it really it touched there, then kind of did shot straight back up, didn't it, from that level? Yeah,
but the thing is, the 1,700, nobody's on the 435 or 450. He said, "No, that's done. We're going to be $1,000 forever," and blew through that like it was worn underwear.
I
don't know what that means, but I don't
know. I got a bunch of visuals in my head, and it made absolute sense to me. Which other chart or slide you want to bring up here, Matt?
That FTP, I think, was probably the biggest one, and I wanted to kind of clarify what I meant by the somebody's at the front door. the V-cession rather than the recession. I think
that's one of the mill guys coming to your door right now.
it's the guy I put on LinkedIn a little while ago. Said, "Put away your PO books." It's probably a broker from down the road coming to beat my ass. But
you've got a black car sitting out front with Canadian license plates on it.
Is the floral store, sir?
Yeah. Yeah. She'll be back in about an hour.
Oh, an hour.
Yeah. Thanks.
You just let him come into your door?
No. No. What the hell? This guy just walked in the house.
That's good.
My wife has a floral business and she works out the back. And this guy rang the bell. He just walked in the door and he's standing by my office. Said, "This the floral business?" Yeah, but not right now. I'm busy.
That's the lumber business today. Well, good deal. Yeah. So one other comment that came up here, Jeff put with Dennis Lightbourne also put one up. He said demand in our area is not slowing down. Folks are still moving to Northwest Arkansas at breakneck speed. Any shrinkage in this market will probably be first seen in the size of houses being built by our large developer customers. Great point, Dennis. Yeah, and Jeff Dill put builders on Cape Cod, which I think Jeff's son is involved in a lot of that building process out there, which, Jeff, you were for a while there too. It booked out well into 2023. Homes for sale, lowest inventory on record, and buyers frustrated as new home listings still going over ask within days. I mean, look at where I live. I'm still seeing that neighbor's houses go on the market for 2 days and they're gone, right?
Yeah, it's the same. But in here, despite that, like Dennis says, everybody business is still good, but the market doesn't. The buyers of the market have lost faith in the market's ability to continue to go up, so they're just not buying. So the market's liquidating, and I want to encourage all of you guys and that are subscribers and listen to this today, just to be aware that this thing's we're gonna get a summer bounce that we don't expect because it's gonna get underbought. It's probably going to happen, maybe 4-6 weeks from now. But once we get down there, we're seeing there's going to be extra wood available from the mills. There's going to be wholesalers have got wood bought from 3 weeks ago they need to get rid of. So there's rollers. The wholesale distributors were out of wood and they got reloaded. So the pipeline's well supplied, adequately supplied, and there's plenty of wood. And I still think you should just be on a liquidation process, but and not to get over crazy when we get a place where it's going to bounce, because we're not going to, the builders are not coming back with another round of starts in the second half like they did in the first half. The big starts are behind us, and now we're going to be in completion. So we'll get a bounce from being underbought, but there's really nowhere for it to go until the price of homes starts to fall and the inventory starts to increase and the rates come back down. And that could be quick if we start seeing them at three-quarter point bumps at a time. It can happen quickly. But my version of a V shape, it doesn't mean like 6 weeks down and then up for 12 weeks or 14 weeks. I think we got 2 or 3 months worth of down to choke to get through.
Hey Matt, do you ever see geese when they're flying the V shape up top when they're
Yeah.
flying? Do you know why one side's longer than the other?
No.
There's more geese on that side.
That's why I refer to myself as a simple thinker. I didn't see that one coming.
Kyle, good comment here. Lumber already had its V-shaped recovery 2 times in the COVID economy. If the market is consolidating into its new range with less volatility due to supply improving and demand flattening, a significant V recovery is not likely.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, well, volatility. We'll see what happens with the volatility. I hope that your V turns out to be a U. Give us a bit more time to resupply. That's from Dennis Lightbourne.
Yeah, but we know that doesn't happen, right? Because when there's going to be, there's going to be a lot of folks that are going to be looking to buy this thing because if it gets cheap, it gets $400. People are going to be a lot more willing to buy it for speculation to hold on to it, thinking things are going to get better, and so.
one good thing, like what Kyle does, Sherwood does a lot of is forward pricing. I mean, the way that the market is set up in futures right now, that's a great opportunity to be forward pricing people at a big discount if they have business locked in. If that's a good opportunity right now. So Kyle's group is a group that does a good job on that. All right, Matt. Well, I appreciate it. How's your class and group going? What are you pulling out of that? What's some without giving too much information, what kind of feedback have you gotten?
Well, we're taking the approaches like this, that every day that you come to work, a lumberman comes to work, every phone call you get is about lumber. I mean, you can't, I mean, just listen to the comments. Everybody here knows exactly what's happening at the lumber market. They know what supply chain is like, what logistics is like, what mill supply is like, but they know what their business is like. But what we're trying to touch on is the kind of psychological things that hold you back from making decisions and encouraging to act with more confidence. So we're talking about things. We talk about the lumber market and how to position, but mainly more from a mental and psychological point of view of like what keeps you from making decisions and why you do that. And it's just a whole different train of thought. It's a different railroad track going down a wood through the forest, and another train. But it's something that everybody seems to be enjoying. It's different than anything we've ever done before, and I'm enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. I kind of want to chime in sometimes and say things that I'm realizing about myself as it goes along as well. But
that's cool. One of the things I think is interesting is there's so many different facets in the way people buy lumber, right? And sell lumber. There's multifamily, there's single family, there's large single family, there's production builders, there's industrial buyers, there's people that do both, there's just repair and remodel people. I mean, so everybody has a different viewpoint, outlook on what a recovery looks like, what speed of getting inventory, moving inventory looks like. So it's kind of good for you to get a good assessment of that. And I think that's what I really like about the feedback that you give. We sometimes think there's just buyers of lumber and sellers of lumber that all works. It all works together, right? But it's a lot of moving parts coming together to make this market move around.
Yeah, one of the things we're going to introduce that we haven't done it yet in the class is I'm going to show everybody how to be a lumber broker before we're through, and use the exchange of buying and selling to supplement their income and their business with using the exchange to, when they buy for themselves, to buy extra and buy through the exchange, sell through the exchange. So
well, we've had some people that you've brought on actually. Instead of buying 5, sometimes they buy 10 and they'll sell the other 5 on here once they hit their yard, right?
Good. Yeah.
And because they get a better deal if they package more into it, and they're learning a lot by doing it, seeing both sides of the market. So I used to have an old boss that used to say, if you can see the bid-ask spread in the flow, you know more than anybody, right? You know, you can do a lot with it. Think about that. If you can see the bid and the ask and know what that spread is, you can see a lot of the market, right? And that's what brokers like to do, is see the bid-ask spread in the flow. And if you see the bid-ask spread in the flow, you know what's a good order, what's a bad order most of the time, and you can get in and out, and that's how you make money and clip coupons, right?
Yep. And things like I liken it to a merry-go-round. It keeps coming round and round and round. The same thing, that opportunities come and go, and there'll be another one. So if you miss it, you can jump on and do it again next time.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Matt. Thank you for the time today. Thanks, everybody. Matt, mxlumber.com to sign up at Materials Exchange, and Layman's Guide. I think Jory had it up a few seconds ago. There it is. Thank you, Jory. Laymansguide.com to sign up for Matt. And really, with your whole crew over there, you've been really adding some amazing value that I've seen. I've seen a big change in what you've done in the last Matt.
Yeah, it's amazing when you realize you can do a lot better with help.
Isn't that crazy? I remember I make comments on some of the reading parts, and you're like, I didn't write that. My stepdaughter or my daughter-in-law wrote that, or I was watching your son the other day, right? And I'm like, damn, he's pretty good. Listen, I like listening to him, right?
Yeah, I'm going. They're getting rid of me in a hurry.
Well, In order to most successful, the job of being a successful owner of a company is trying to make yourself, trying to make yourself indispensable, but also trying to replace yourself and do better, right?
Yeah, one of the things that we're going to do in the future too is instead of me doing all the market commentary about what's going on, I'm going to look for probably 4 or 5 specialists in the industry that don't have a conflict of interest that can do. I'm going to call them scouting reports, and we're going to look for somebody in Eastern Canada, Western Canada, Pacific Northwest. Somebody does OSB, somebody does Southern Yellow Pine. So if you guys know of anyone that's interested in becoming a scout for Layman's Lumber Guide and can do it without talking your position, I'd love to talk to you.
So here's an interesting thing, Matt, and just a big overall thing that you and I and everybody's seeing. I got emails today from some banks and some other places. Are you interested in sharing your data with us? This is 6 or 7 people so far, and it's finally I woke up, I hit myself, I'm like, well, everybody loves data, and there's not enough lumber data out there, right? And there's a strange sea change happening in the data industry right now, all over the world, but especially in our industry in lumber, right? And I think
yeah, it's almost like it's trying to be protected. My goal before the end of the year is to be able to offer some benchmark lumber pricing that's free, just like you turn on TV and CNBC and watch and see what the price of any stock is, or Google it. And lumber prices you shouldn't have to pay to get to information on something that's a publicly traded commodity.
Well, we're talking to you. We're working on our technicians, our technical department, our engineers are working on having a ticker across the bottom of our screen, so everybody that signs on to the MX platform can see what real-time live pricing is doing relative to them and relative to other areas of the country. And I agree, for as much lumber that moves around there and price discovery, people need to know where numbers are. So I just thought that was interesting, and I've noticed a lot of that in the last few weeks. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much for coming to our show, Lunch with Lumbermen. Matt and I will do it next week again, and we'll look forward to. And thank you for taking your time out of the day. We know it's important, and we love all your input.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.